Here we go.
Hi, welcome back to Hannity, the Great Red State, Blue State debate. We continue with Governor Ron DeSantis of Florida, Governor Gavin Newsom of the state of California. Gentlemen, let's turn to the issue of parental rights. Now, in March of last year, Governor DeSantis, as you know, you signed the Parental Rights in Education bill. And let me read from it. It says, classroom instruction by school personnel or third parties on sexual orientation or gender identity may not occur in kindergarten through grade 3 or in a manner that is not age appropriate or developmentally appropriate for students in according with state standards. Critics have called the bill, quote, homophobic. This is the one they branded the Don't Say Gay bill. I ask you, Governor DeSantis, especially the lower grades, should schools, and maybe all grades, should schools be focusing on reading, writing, math, science, history, computers, and maybe leaving values, considering parents might have different values than teachers at school, to the parents, to religious institutions? Or is it the role of the school? What is the role?
The role of the school is to educate kids,
Hannity.
not indoctrinate
Tough question.
kids. It's not to impose an agenda. It's to do the basics. And what we've said in Florida is it's inappropriate to tell a kindergartner that their gender is a choice. It's inappropriate to tell a second grader that they may have been born in the wrong body. Now, California has that. They want to have that injected into the elementary school. My wife and I have a 7-5 and a 3-year-old. We don't think that that's appropriate. And I know most parents do not think it's appropriate. It's also important to respect parental rights to know what curriculum is being used in the classroom, and everything should be age appropriate. I actually have something that I brought that some parents have objected to. So this is a book that's in some of the schools in California. In Florida, this is not consistent with our standards, called Gender Queer. Some of it's blacked out. You would not probably be able to put this on air. This is pornography. It's cartoons. It's aimed at children, and it's wrong. So this should not be in schools. When people like on the left say that somehow you're banning books by removing this from a young kid's classroom, no, this is not age appropriate. And so we're going to stand for the rights of parents. I think we need to do that nationwide. I don't think you can have a situation where some states just trample on the rights of parents. Parents have a fundamental right to direct the education and upbringing of their kids.
I mean, by the way, you've been on a banning bench. 1,406 books have been banned just last year under Ron DeSantis' leadership.
Party of freedom.
I love that he keeps pulling this out. I've seen this. He's been doing this all over campaign trail. What's wrong with Toni Morrison's books?
It's not banned.
What's wrong? It's not true.
Not.
What's wrong with Amanda Gorman's?
It's not banned.
And the poetry. 1,406. 1,406 books have been banned on your banning
Anything
bench
inconvenient,
in the
he goes,
state
not true.
of Florida. As it relates to parental rights, come on, California, it's in our Constitution, parental engagement. It's called the LCFF process. We actually require parental engagement on curriculum development, and we don't. Complete lie. We don't require K through 3rd grade sexual education. That doesn't happen until middle school. What you're doing is using education as a sword for your cultural purge. And you know what? With all due respect, you know, I remember in the 1970s, we had a bill called the Briggs Initiative.
Look at DeSantis'
and there was a guy by the
face.
name of Ronald Reagan, so offended by the Briggs Initiative, which was the original Don't Say Gay bill. In that case, it was not allowing teachers that happened to be gay to teach. And Reagan had the courage to stand up, and he said, you can't catch gay like you can measles. I don't like the way you demean people. I don't like the way you demean the LGBTQ community. I don't like the way you demean and humiliate people you disagree with, Ron. I really find this fundamentally offensive, and this is a core value that distinguishes the values of my state and, frankly, the vast majority of Americans against the weaponization of education
Right.
and the purging that he's advancing.
I have a follow-up question for you, though. And by the way, first, Governor, yes or no, are the book banning issues, is that not a state issue? Is that a state issue or a local issue?
Local, and he's
okay. That's all I want to know.
The home book wasn't there.
Here's the question I have.
1,400
Here's the
books
question I have.
Man, Hannity's back must be sore.
Some of the books you're talking about, one is called, the governor just brought it up, it's called Gender Queer, a memoir. Explicit pornographic book showing sex acts. Another, Flamer, graphic book about young boys performing sex acts at summer camp. This book is Gay, a book containing instructions on the ins and outs of gay sexuality. Let me finish. Let's Talk About It, a book that contains graphic descriptions about how to masturbate for males and females. My question to you, Governor Newsom, those books, Do you believe that's appropriate for school districts to teach kids? Yes or no?
Come on, that's not part of the curriculum. They're not teaching
those
kids
are those are books that were in school.
Hold on. The bottom line is you are on a book banning binge, your state. 1,406 books, 3,362 in this country.
You didn't answer.
Florida's
what about
leading,
those books?
That's not, we don't provide for K through third grade education that kind of curriculum. It's just made up. These guys make it up. It's part of this cultural purge.
Should it
it's
be?
Just a made
what grade?
Up,
What grade would it be acceptable?
What I find offensive, Sean and Ron, what I find offensive is a very significant number of these books happen to be LGBTQ books. A significant number of these books happen to be about African Americans.
Do you think it's
honestly find it
Governor?
I told
do you think it's appropriate in school?
We don't teach that. We have sex education in middle schools and high schools where it's appropriate. This is a ginned up, made up issue to divide this country. You talk about dividing this country. This is part of the culture war, the weaponization of grievance. This is part using education. We're focusing on math, science. We're focusing on reimagining our school system.
We're going to get to education
He's criminalizing teachers and criminalizing librarians that check out the wrong book.
They've used the schools to impose a liberal agenda, social justice. They have this ethnic studies where they're dividing people. That's what they're doing. But let me just say something about parents' rights, because he says California respects parents' rights. This is rich. He's been telling a lot of whoppers tonight. This may be the biggest. In California, if you're a parent in Iowa or New Hampshire or South Carolina, your minor child can go to California without your knowledge or without your consent and get hormone therapy, puberty blockers, and a sex change operation, all without you knowing or consenting. How in the heck is that honoring parents' rights when you're bringing people from out of state to go around their parents' backs and getting life-altering surgeries? That is radical. That is extreme. That is an assault on parents' rights.
You know what? Ron,
it's not for you to decide. It's for the parents to decide. And the parents do not want their kids going to these other things.
Let me go to a follow-up. Let me stay on a follow-up. Let's turn to the issue of education.
Where's your decency and humanity and grace when it comes to these things?
Ripping somebody away from
please. Nobody can hear you.
That is wrong. That is wrong.
I'll tell you.
All right.
That should not stand in this country.
Let us turn, gentlemen, if I may, to the issue of education. Here is public school spending per K through 12 students, according to the Education Data Initiative from the U.S. Census Bureau and National Center for Education. Florida spends nearly $12,000 per student, while California spends over $16,000. Florida is ranked #1 by U.S. News & World Report. In terms of state education rankings, California ranks 20th. Governor Newsom, what is your explanation? You spend more money and they have better results in Florida. Why?
I just told you what I'm doing in public education. We created a brand new grade, pre-K for all. We're doing after school and summer school for all. We're reimagining the school day, not just the school year. We just provided 3.4 million of our students upwards of $2 billion for child savings accounts and the opportunity to start businesses when they graduate. We have one of the best records under COVID, during COVID. And again, you didn't answer to the fact you had more learning loss. Ron DeSantis had more learning loss during COVID. 4th grade reading, 4th grade math, 8th grade reading, 8th grade math. We outperformed you in it's a fact during COVID in every one of those categories. I can't wait to get all the PolitiFacts tonight because, Ron, you keep denying some basic fundamental facts on health, wealth, and education. We outperformed you during COVID. You talk about things to apologize. You should apologize for your COVID record. You were with Fauci. You aligned with vaccines. You aligned with CDC guidelines until you didn't, and tens of thousands of people died.
Let's return our focus to education.
Well, when we opened the schools, we bucked all of those people June of 2020. He kept the schools closed for a long time, and that had devastating impacts. And why? What Gavin Newsom does in California is kowtow to the teachers union. Whatever they tell him to do, he does. He will never balk the teachers union. That's why the kids were locked out of school for so long. Joe Biden is in the pocket of the teachers union, and so is Kamala Harris. That's why they fought school openings when he came in there. When they had that in there. Biden came into office and he brought in the teacher union to be able to do all these different things to try to keep the schools closed. So the Democratic Party, the far left in this country, they are owned lock, stock, and barrel by the teachers union. I beat the teachers union in Florida to get the schools open, first in the country during COVID, also to do universal school choice. Every parent in Florida has a right to send their kid to the school of their choice. We're winning these fights. California is bending the knee to the union because they control the politicians.
Let's move on. A topic that will seemingly play a very large role in the future elections, and it's the issue of abortion.
Yes.
I have a question for both of you. I'll ask you to please respect the individual's right to answer uninterrupted. And that is Governor DeSantis. I think it's actually your turn, Governor Newsom, if you don't mind.
All good.
Most medical professionals believe a baby is viable outside of a mother's womb by between 24 and 26 weeks. That is the general scientific consensus. It changes. There are some variations on it. Abortion is legal in your state, quote, up to viability, is my understanding, unless the mother's health is in danger. Right. I'd like to get you on the record. You've been unwilling to answer this question. Should there be any restrictions on the issue of abortion that you support at all? Because funding in California, you have allocated in your budget $265 million for abortion last year alone. My question, very specific, do you support any restrictions at all on abortion, especially in months 7, 8, and 9, past viability?
I'm going to answer that question, but let's talk about the issue of abortion. Let's talk about the issue of abortion.
You're going to answer it?
I'm going to answer that question. Okay. I'll repeat that. But I think this is important, and it bears repeating. Ron DeSantis has signed the most extreme anti-abortion bills in America. He signed a bill banning any exceptions for rape and incest. And then he said it didn't go far enough and decided to sign a 6-week ban before women even know they're pregnant, Ron, before women can even access a doctor's appointment. So extreme is your ban that criminalizes women and criminalizes doctors that even Donald Trump said it was too extreme. On the issue of the extreme exception that you highlight as it relates to the issue of later-term abortion, it's almost always because of a fetal anomaly, the life of the mother. And in those rare cases, I trust, and answer your question, I trust the mother and her doctor to make that decision.
So in other words, I want to be clear on this. If a woman and her doctor, for any reason...
Not for any reason.
No.
I'm extremely rare.
Should there
be... I know where you guys are going, Sean. You're even uncomfortable with this whole issue. And I understand it. This is where you guys have to go to cover for the extreme anti-abortion agenda of Ron DeSantis.
Should there be... Would you support a ban on abortion in 7th, 8th, or 9th month if the mother's life is not in jeopardy?
Extreme exception. People aren't going on and having abortions.
Should it be illegal then?
Unless something devastating has happened.
Should it be illegal?
It should be up to the mother and her doctor and her conscience. And it
so
almost
the answer is
always,
no restriction.
I've already answered it, and I'll just reinforce it. To cover up, again, hold on, for the most extreme abortion ban in the country. I have a simple question, though. This is important.
No. I'm asking the question.
Ron DeSantis, will you or will you not sign a 6-week ban in the unlikely case you become President of the United States?
Would
you sign a national ban?
He'll never answer that
question.
question.
Answer that. He's getting saved
you had 15
on that
weeks.
Fundamental question.
You had a 15-week rule in California. You reduced it to 6. My question is this. What was your thinking behind it? Was it for religious reasons? Was it for
he just
scientific
teased him
reasons?
up.
What was the reason for you from going from 15 weeks to 6 weeks?
Well, I believe in a culture of life. I think we're better off when everybody counts, when everybody has an opportunity to do well, and that bill attaches when there's a detectable heartbeat. For the child. And some states have done that. Some states have done others. Some states have done later. And obviously they have a right to do that. But I think about one of our Floridians, a lady named Penny Hopper. She actually survived a late-term abortion.
Always with the anecdotes. He can always just point to like one random person.
The table there to basically wither away. Her grandmother came, saved her, brought her to a hospital, saved her, and she ended up living a good life. So she counts and she matters. And I think that the position that we have from the modern left, including in California, is that they will take your tax dollars and they will fund abortion all the way to the moment of birth. He's wrong when he says the later terms are all because of this. 88% past 15 weeks are in fact elective from the Florida data. He doesn't keep data there, but that is really extreme to take your tax dollars and to do this all the way up to the moment of birth. He didn't answer your question about any type of protections at all for a baby that has a beating heart, that can feel pain, that is viable.
All right. Hold on.
Respectfully, this is an important conversation. Will you or will you not support
You didn't
a
answer,
national?
Sean.
Ron,
Why didn't you answer his question?
Or will you not support a national ban if it lands on your desk? You couldn't answer that in any other context.
Okay,
answer it
gentlemen,
tonight. It's a
we're
simple
moving
yes,
on
no.
to
By
the
way,
next issue.
Hey, no, Sean, not a
You
next
never
issue.
gave a
The
week.
American people should know this. I'll answer it for Ron DeSantis. He can't answer it. He will sign that extreme 6-week
let me move
national
on.
ban. The American people should know that.
I'm calling this the lightning round. It would be great if you guys cooperated. I'm not a potted plant here.
He tried to save him.
I wanna
Hannity tried to
ask
save
you,
him.
We all know that federal policy does have a huge impact on states. We know that. I'm going to ask you 3 simple questions, and I just want one-word answers, okay, from 3 of you, because
do our best.
We're coming up on a break. And the issue is right now Joe Biden is president.
Yep.
So I would like both of you to give a grade to Joe Biden overall as president. Governor Newsom, I'll give A.
An A, absolutely.
Governor
I think it's been a
DeSantis.
master
Failed.
And a failure. Okay.
No, that's your
Now,
campaign
number
for
2,
president.
are his policies helping or hurting your individual states? Is it helping the state of Florida?
The inflation is hurting our state big time.
Grade.
Fail. He failed.
Yeah.
He's failed
What
on the
would you-
economy.
The guy just took
Is it helping
$28
the
million
state of
from the
California?
Science and Tech Act. Thank you, Joe Biden. It's absolutely accelerating our dominance in manufacturing, accelerating our revitalization
Okay,
of
that
our
was a
state.
simple
the answer
answer.
Is unequivocally,
Lastly.
absolutely yes.
Okay, I will ask you, Governor DeSantis. I have played over and over again, and Governor Newsom, you have seen over and over again. Joe Biden is experienced what I believe to be significant cognitive decline. And in other words, it's the toughest job in the world. Is Joe Biden experiencing this cognitive decline? Is it a danger to the country? Do you find when he speaks, what is your reaction to it?
Yes, he's in decline. Yes, it's a danger to the country. He has no business running for president. And, you know, Gavin Newsom agrees with that. He won't say that. But that's why he's running his shadow campaign. He should not be running. He is not up to the job. And it is dangerous for this country.
Well, I will take Joe Biden at 100 versus Ron DeSantis any day of the week at any age. In fact, all
So
of the
do you
folks
think- you think
on the
he's up to the
campaign
job?
trail.
You think he's
Absolutely.
100%?
I've been spending
100%?
plenty of time with Joe
100%?
Biden in
Okay.
private
Let him
and public.
answer.
You don't know. And by the way, results matter. Inflation now is down to 3.2%. Wages are up to 4.4%. The economy is booming, 5.2% GDP growth in the last quarter. Those are facts you don't hear on Fox News. 14 million jobs, 10 times
Let me
more than the
move
last
on. That
3
was the lightning
Republican
round.
presidents
Now,
to Biden.
on March
Biden
31st,
Hannity's like, we gotta
1968,
get
President
outta
Lyndon
here.
B. Johnson famously said, "I shall not seek and I will not accept the nomination of my party for another term as your president." Now, despite being an incumbent president who is eligible to run for re-election, Governor Newsom, I've interviewed you twice on this issue. You say you are not running for president in 2024. In fact, you recently said, quote, you think that Vice President Harris is naturally the one lined up to run for president if Joe Biden were to bow out. Governor Newsom, tonight I ask you, will you make an LBJ-like statement? And Governor DeSantis, you say he's running a shadow campaign. In your response, I would like you to answer that. Will you say unequivocally, under no circumstances are you running?
Correct. I've said, I don't know how many times I can say it. Just making this stuff up about a shadow campaign.
If
Bottom line,
if at the DNC convention they come and
Joe
ask you,
Biden-
will you run? What will you say?
Joe Biden will be our nominee in a matter of weeks. And in a matter of weeks, Sean, he'll be endorsing Donald Trump as the nominee for the Republican Party.
If they come to you at the DNC and Joe is incapable of running and they ask you, are you a hard no?
And it's not even optional. He's doing fantastically. I appreciate and respect the work the president's doing and the vice president's.
His talking point is so tired.
And team. So absolutely unequivocally,
Vice
I look
President
forward
Harris would be the
to
next person.
continuing to support their efforts. President Biden will be reelected. Donald Trump
I think
will
what
be
he's
rejected.
saying, I think what he's saying should color every single thing. I mean, I've called him on a lot of the lies, but he says Joe Biden is 100% 100% up to the job. You know that that's not true. Anybody that can look, he wants you to believe him over your own lying eyes. When he says the economy is so great, how great is it when you're going to the grocery store now? How great is it when you're trying to afford a home? How are those interest rates doing? What about affording a new car? So we have to get real here. We have to understand that Biden is not a job. But here's I think the problem. What Biden would do, the people around him, they would look to California for the model to go forward in the next 4 years. That would accelerate the decline of this country. Freedom is what works.
Memorized speeches every
need
time.
to be left in the dustbin of history.
Yeah, tell about freedom to women that you're trying to criminalize in your state. And
all right, we're retreating to old ground. For years,
this notion of freedom.
Yeah, no kidding.
Is not a state.
It's always old ground.
One of the things I wanted to accomplish here is the policies that you both implement have a great impact on the citizens of your individual states. For years, a gallon of gasoline, Governor Newsom, in California has been notably higher in your state than in the state of Florida.
That's right.
Here are the numbers, by the way, recent numbers. The average cost for a gallon of gas nationwide, just over $3.24. In Florida, $3.17. In California, it is a whopping $4.85. So, Governor Newsom, I ask you, you've also sued big oil companies alleging executives have deceived the public about the health of our planet, knowing that it's a polluter. If your lawsuit is successful, that would likely mean higher gas prices, even higher gas prices for everybody. Here's my question, though. Could you name right now one source of energy that you can bring online in the next 3 to 6 months that would be as inexpensive for the people in this country as fossil fuels?
Well, let me touch.
Can you think of that energy?
Let me touch on I'm going to get to your question, and then let me touch the latter part of your question. Let me give the first part of the question.
Okay.
You're absolutely right. Since the 1980s, Republican administrations, Democratic administrations have experienced, under their stewardship, experienced higher gas prices in the state of California. We've been ripped off by big oil. We continue to be ripped off by big oil. Big oil now has met a new foe, and that's the state of California, the most aggressive anti-gouging law in America, more transparency being required than any time in America. And yes, we're suing the industry responsible for this climate crisis. By the way, the same climate crisis that Ron DeSantis celebrated as human-caused, who campaigned for a fracking ban, who campaigned to oppose offshore oil drilling, and then 2 days after he got elected, signed an executive order. By the way, Nikki Haley had you dead to right on this, Ron. Signed an executive order doubling down, saying you're adamantly opposed to fracking, adamantly opposed to offshore oil drilling. You were celebrated by the Sierra Club for that action until you weren't. Once again, it shows the hypocrisy of Ron DeSantis. Now you're running away from climate change as things have gotten worse. Hurricanes, wildfires, droughts, and floods. $179 billion of weather-related disasters.
They won't even insure homes in Florida.
Talking points from big oil.
Governor
That was a mouthful. Again, just more lies. But here's the thing: California is the only one that oil companies are gouging. Why aren't they doing that to Georgia or Florida or these other states that have lower gas prices? Because of their policies. That's why people are paying more there. What Gavin Newsom wants to do, what he's doing in California, what Biden wants to do nationally, is government-dictated green energy policies. They want to kneecap fossil fuels and reliable energy. We've already seen what's happened in California. They have rolling blackouts. He actually implemented a mandate to buy electric vehicles. So pretty soon in California, you're not going to be able to buy a normal car, only electric vehicles. And they celebrated that as like a great thing. A couple days later, there was a notice from the state government telling all EV owners, do not plug in your EV because they don't have enough grid capacity. So he is walking his people into a big-time disaster. What Biden wants to do is he wants to take the California model. He wants to impose that nationally. He wants to take away your ability to purchase the car that you want. He wants to kneecap reliable energy. And he wants to bring these rolling blackouts all across the United States of America. It doesn't work. It's going to cause huge problems. We have more energy here. We can be the dominant energy producer in the world.
Florida.
And that's what we're going to do. Florida is not a big energy state. We have the Marcellus Shale. We have the West Texas. We have all of that. So let's do that. No forcing electric vehicles.
We got to take a break.
Save the American automobile.
When we come back, we'll continue the great state. state, red state, blue state debate. More with Governor Ron DeSantis, more with Governor Gavin Newsom as we continue. Thank you for being with us from Alpharetta, Georgia.